Hello friends, welcome back. In our previous discussion we have talked about that who is a leader, what is leadership, what is group leadership, what are the features of group leadership and different styles of leadership, that is autocratic, democratic and laissez-faire leadership style. Today I will discuss about the contingency models of leadership. There are different models of leadership from earlier years also, and how the concept of leadership has evolved in different forms. Earlier we have trait theories of leadership where particular traits of a leader as charismatic, autocratic, democratic, influential, all these type of traits were considered in that particular domain, that is trait theories of leadership. Then some other types of leadership also evolved, and with the gradual process of addition in the literature, the most famous platform came up as contingency models of leadership. This contingency model of leadership actually focuses on situation based leadership. That means any leadership style can be effective only when it matches with or it is contingent upon a particular situation. We cannot say that X style of leadership will be very much effective in A situation or X leadership style will be very much effective in B situation. But yes, X leadership style can be very much effective in C situation. So, based on this, so contingency model of leadership supposes that a leader's effectiveness is contingent on whether or not the leadership style suits a particular situation. So, leadership style and situation play in continuum. There is a continuous role play of all these three factors when we are talking about contingency model of leadership. That is that a leader can be effective or any leadership style of a person can be effective only it matches a particular situation. So, according to contingency model of leadership, an individual can be an effective leader in one circumstance and ineffective leader in another one. That is what I said, that X leadership style of a person can be ineffective in A situation, it can be ineffective in B situation, but it can be effective in C situation. So, to maximize an individual's likelihood of being a productive leader, this theory posits that one should be able to examine each situation and decide if a particular leadership style is going to be effective or not. That means any influential person will form an authority who tries to reconcile all the interest and conflicts of the group members based on the situation, then that leadership style can be effective. So, Fred Fiedler proposed a widely recognized situation based or contingency theory for leadership effectiveness. That means what kind of leadership style is effective or which leader is effective based on the leadership style in a particular situation. So, the contingency model of leadership proposes that effective group performance depends on the proper match between the leader style of interacting with his or her subordinates and the degree to which the situation gives control and influence to the leader. That means depending on the type of situation, the leader can take on the control while adopting a particular leadership style. So, that is the basic assumption about contingency model of leadership. If we continue the basic assumption again, so Fiedler believed that an individual's basic leadership style is a key factor in leadership success. That is but obvious that if there is no match between a leadership style and the situation, then the leader or any leadership style can be a failure. To overcome this kind of situation, Fiedler actually developed an instrument, or we can say a questionnaire, which was termed as a least preferred co-worker questionnaire, where it purports to measure whether a person is task oriented or relationship oriented. Basically, based on this questionnaire, least preferred co-worker questionnaire, Fiedler has identified two types of leadership styles, that is task oriented leadership style and relationship oriented leadership style. So, the questionnaire comprises 16 adjectives, and the respondent is asked to evaluate all the co-workers with whom or she has ever worked and describe one person he or she has least enjoyed working with by rating that person on a scale of 1 to 8. Now, on a scale of 1 to 8 are the 16 sets of contrasting objectives. I will just go through this questionnaire: friendly to unfriendly, unpleasant to pleasant, rejecting to accepting, tense to relaxed, cold to warm, boring to interesting, and so on. So, there are 16 adjectives, and the respondent is asked to think of all the co-workers he or she has ever had and describe the one person he or she has least enjoyed working with by rating the person on a scale of 1 to 8, and each scale has a contrasting objectives 1 to 8. Now, the Fiedler's assumption was that the responses to the LPC questionnaire, it will help in identifying the basic leadership of the person, which can be determined based on his preferences. So, as Fiedler's assumption was based at what an individual says about others, actually the person is telling about himself. So, that was the assumption, that if a respondent is asked to rate the person with whom or she he least enjoyed working with, then actually the person or the respondent is actually telling about himself based on those adjectives, not on those, not responding to the co-worker, but actually he or she is actually telling about himself what he desires in the other person. So, what he desires is the leadership style. So, if the LPC is described in relatively positive terms, that is, if I go to the picture, for example, if the co-worker responds about the other co-worker in a giving a high score, that is of in positive terms, that is 8, then the person will prefer to work with the person who is friendly in nature, who has a pleasant demeanor, who is accepting in nature, who is relaxed and has warm temperament, that means affectionate temperament, who is interesting and taking or participating in new task, who is loyal and cooperative and supportive. So, if LPC is described in relatively positive terms, that is a high LPC score is there, then the respondent was primarily interested in good personal relations with a co-worker, and the individual would be labeled as a relationship oriented leader. That means, when a person is ranking or rating the other person on a scale of 1 to 8. So, basically if the person has responded on a scale of 8 about the other co-worker, then the person is actually talking about his own preference basically. So, if the preference is high, the high score on LPC is supportive or warm, then the person is actually showing his more inclination towards more relationship management and prefers to be a relationship oriented leader. If in contrast, if the LPC is perceived in relatively unfavorable terms, that is a low LPC score has been achieved, then the respondent is primarily interested in productivity and he or she would be labeled as task oriented. So, the idea is that when we are responding to the other co-worker, then we are actually disclosing our own way of style of working as a leader. So, either that style can be relationship oriented or task oriented. So, the one thing to note about this contingency model given by Fiedler is that Fiedler has assumed that an individual leader style is fixed, that is either it is relationship oriented or it is task oriented. So, the focus is that only two leadership style has been identified based on this contingency model of leadership. So, we can say that this assumption is important because it means that if a situation requires a task oriented leader and the person in that situation is relationship oriented, that means there is a clash, that in the situation a task oriented leader is required and the leader has a temperament of being relationship oriented. Either the situation has to be modified or the leader is replaced for optimum effectiveness to be achieved. That means, if any situation requires task orientation, then relationship oriented leadership style will not work, rather it can only be overcome or dealt with task oriented leadership only for maximum or optimum effectiveness. Now, this is based on LPC questionnaire, a least preferred coworker questionnaire. Leadership style can be identified, that is relationship oriented or task oriented. Now, how to identify the situation as well? One area has been sorted out, that is a leader, the leadership style. Now, how to sort out or filter out the situation? So, Fiedler has identified 3 dimensions to be followed to define the leadership style or match the leadership style with the situation, that is leader member relation, task structure and position power. Leader member relation, the degree of confidence, trust and respect subordinates have in their leader. That means to what extent leader member have trust and respect for each other. That means they are accepting the leader in its own way with its own orientation. Task structure, the degree to which the job assignments of subordinates are structured or unstructured. The more the jobs are structured, that means the more the role clarity is there, more unambiguity is there, that means role clarity and what the person has to do, it is all clear to the members, then the job is considered to be structured, that all the roles, responsibilities of the incumbent are very much defined, that is role task structure. And position power, that means the degree of influence a leader has over power variables such as hiring, firing, promotions, policy making and salary increases. That means to what extent the leader has influence on the administration of the organization as well. What are the tasks or what are the way the job or any work has to be conducted based on hiring, firing or staffing, salary hike or promotions or policy making. That means to what extent members are accepting the leader based on its position, power and influence. So, it is being stated by Fiedler that better the leader member relations, the more the tasks are highly structured and stronger is the position power, the more control or influence the leader had. That means if all these situations, that means leader member relations are appropriate, that means cordial, the more the tasks are structured and more people accept the position, power and status of the leader, the more the leadership becomes effective. Because whether it is task orientation or relationship orientation, if all these situations, leader member relation, task structure and influence, power position are in alignment, then task orientation leadership is also successful and relationship orientation is also successful. So, we can say that with the knowledge of individual's least preferred co-worker and assessment of the 3 contingency variables. Now, 3 contingency variables, these situations, leader member relations, task structure and position power. When these are in synchronization, it will match up to achieve maximum leadership effectiveness. That is the contingency model of leadership. That means identifying the least preferred co-worker while expressing your own preference of the leadership style and matching with the situation can make any leader effective and influential. So, this is the contingency model of leadership. Next, we will come up with some another 2 models of contingency theories of leadership that we will discuss in our next lecture. Thank you so much.